You're experiencing the Authentic Chaos Podcast, an exploration into our inner selves and journeys of self-discovery. I'm your host, Vahagan Yernosian. We're kicking off February, a month dedicated to love and dating, with a series on dating. Over the next few episodes, I hope to have some thoughts reflected from myself on my own views on love and dating, as well as conversations with some friends of mine with their own impressions on love and dating. And hopefully something from here will help you if you're trying to date yourself, or maybe even embolden or strengthen the relationships you currently have. Today, specifically, I want to talk about a kind of love, a very foundational kind of love. But first, I want to start with a bit of a rhetorical question. Who is the hardest person to love? Think about it for a little bit. You might think maybe a parent, maybe a lover, maybe a friend. But what about yourself? I don't know about you, but I've found from my own experiences that loving myself was one of the hardest things to do. I've been dating in the dating world for a while, and I've had lots of questions about love and my own attractiveness as a partner. And I'd keep coming to a question similar to, who could love someone like me? Like, I know that I've had parents who loved me and I've had partners who loved me, but sometimes it doesn't feel like I can be loved. And if you've had any similar questions to that for yourself, then I think the issue is less that other people wouldn't love you, and more of an issue that you don't quite love yourself. We're told in this modern age where mindfulness is trying to be, social media tries to co-opt mindfulness lessons and create platitudes that don't really help you. We hear a lot of things like, it's important to love yourself. Like, before you start dating or really get into a committed relationship or even advance your relationships, you should first find that self-love. But nobody tells you how difficult it is to actually love yourself. Loving yourself is hard. It's scary. It means that you are falling in love with everything about you, both the things you like and the things that you wish you weren't, the things that you wish you could change, your demons. And you don't want to love your demons. They're demons for a reason. And I see this not just in myself, but in other people close to me. We've even people on a similar mindfulness journey to me who've talked about how much love they have for themselves and how they've grown in love for themselves. But ultimately, it doesn't always translate to an actual self-love. And there are times where things get difficult and the ugly parts of us come out. And sometimes the chaos of our minds is not pretty and not beautiful. And we doubt ourselves. And we doubt our commitment to loving ourselves. And we start to wonder how other people could love us too. We see ourselves less of a human, more like some sort of monster, some beast. Because if I had these shadows in me, what else is lurking in the depths of my consciousness? I want to help you on your journey of self-love. And I want to do that by providing a foundation for how to build that. I've been reflecting over the past several weeks, knowing that this is something that I wanted to talk about, but also something that's a big part of my life. Last week, I had a lot of challenges that really stressed me and really pushed me in my own journey of self-love. There were times where I didn't like who I was or what I was doing or the urges I had. But those are me. And so I built this foundation from my own journey. And hear me out, and maybe it'll resonate with you. The key, if you want to truly love yourself, I believe there are 3 or 4 steps you need to get to first. First is self-awareness. Then self-acceptance. Maybe additionally, self-forgiveness. And finally, fully embracing yourself. I'm going to go about this in a bit of an untraditional way. I'm going to start on the high level with the goals of self-love. We're going to go deep, and then we're going to come back out. So it's going to be like a little V. So bear with me here. It's going to be an adventure. So we want to love ourselves. Why do we want to love ourselves? Well, think about all the joy that you have when you have someone who truly loves you, when you've had a partner who loves you, maybe a child who loves you, a parent, and all of these loves feel great. From the parent, you feel security and nourishment. From your partner, you feel support. From your child, you feel like a sense of like accomplishment and excitement and joy. All of these things, none of them are from the other people. They are contributing to the feelings you're feeling, sure. But that is you. You are feeling that sense of security, that sense of nourishment, that sense of support, that sense of accomplishment and of joy and of fulfillment. And self-love is really just finding that and embracing that within you. So now we get to the embracing part. How do we fully embrace ourselves? Well, we have to love ourselves for everything about us, our good and our bad, our what seem like demons, and we're going to get deeper into that, and our triumphs. It's easy to love all the good things about us, but it's hard to truly embrace our demons. And so we have to start to accept and maybe forgive our demons. We have to look at them less as threats to us and more as some of them are going to be parts of us. At least in this part of our journey, they are part of us. They may not always be with you, but they are with you right now. And trying to deny them isn't going to help you at all. So we have to accept that they are part of you. They are along for the ride. With light, there is shadow. Just like you can see the shadow of my mic on me. You can't have shadow without light. And by changing your perspective like this, we can change how we see the demons. And in some cases, these demons are going to be deep parts of us. And they maybe were a cause of shame. Maybe you have deviant thoughts that others in your society or in your culture may not agree with and would think that there's something seriously wrong with you if you express those. So maybe you are causing self-shame because of that. This is a big situation in the case of generational guilt. When we're taught shame at an early age, that keeps with us, and we treat that judgment, we take that judgment of shame and shine it on our demons, and then they become threats to us. But if we forgive and tell our ego, we starve our ego a little bit and tell it we're not going to judge ourselves, that lens of judgment isn't meant for us. It is meant for our survival, but not for our self-love. And so we forgive ourselves for having these deviant thoughts. We forgive ourselves for making mistakes. We forgive ourselves for being human. And when we look even deeper and get to the point of self-awareness, and we shine that light on these demons to see where they're hiding, we notice something magical. They're not demons. They're shadows. They were never there to hurt you. They were always there as a counterpart to the light you have. The yin and yang, if you will. They are part of you. And when you start to look at them and change your perspective of them, maybe you see that they're not actually moving the way you thought they were, and that they're more immaterial than you thought they were. Maybe these deviant thoughts don't define you, and you start to see yourself less in those thoughts and more as the being, the consciousness that came up with those thoughts. But you know what? This consciousness came up with many other thoughts too. This is the authenticity of our chaos. This is why it's important to me to describe myself as this chaos. Because ultimately, it's difficult for us to understand. We see these ugly parts of us because chaos isn't always going to be beautiful. Sometimes it is messy and we are ashamed of it. But when we take away that judgment, that light of shame from our ego, and we change perspective and see ourselves as humans, then we see that humans are complicated. We know humans are complicated. We know our partner is complicated. We know our children are complicated. We know our friends are complicated. And our parents are complicated. They have good and bad, light and shadow. But that doesn't mean, but for some reason, we don't give ourselves that same leeway. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. We pretend, we think that we're at a higher standard than that, but then we see ourselves as less than human when we judge ourselves for being human. So now we're going to start to go back. Now that we've kind of dug deep and kind of understood where some of these roadblocks are to self-love, and how in deep down the quest for self-love is a quest for self-discovery and finding our true selves, finding our authentic chaos. I now want to use this framework. Let's build up. Let's build up and come up with a way for you, dear listener, to truly love yourself. It starts with awareness. I've reiterated this many times on the podcast, but awareness is the key to change. Awareness is the key to existing, to being, to acknowledging your own consciousness and your own decision making in your life and your own authentic chaos. So let's be aware. Let's take deep breaths. Maybe journal. Let's write down the things that we like about ourselves and the things we wish we weren't. Our deviant thoughts, the things that we have shame in. If you feel like this might be overwhelming, therapy is a huge help. Getting a professional will certainly help out in this journey. It helped me a lot. I wouldn't have been able to really see my demons as shadows without therapy and my own self-reflection and self-study. And I definitely encourage you to open yourself to other ways of thought. Read up on psychology and neuroscience. Read up on mindfulness and Buddhism. Open yourself to other ways of thinking and to the wisdom of people who have been on this journey before. Because there is a lot of wisdom that I've learned and that I'm just trying to impart upon you too, dear listener. And as you learn and as you adjust and as you change your perspective around what your shadows are, you see that they're not really that big of a deal. They can change. And oftentimes they do change because as your perspective moves, you change the direction that the light is shown on them. As you change how you view yourself, you change how you view your shadows, and they become less of a thing of shame. And then we can move on to self-acceptance. We understand that we don't have demons, we have shadows. And you know what? Everyone does. I want you to maybe make some intentions, put some words out there. Speak and tell yourself in front of the mirror, I'm not perfect, but no one is. I am human though, and I am deserving of this love. And maybe jot down things you're grateful for. Gratitude journals, very helpful in a mindfulness journey, and they can be excellent ways of trying to find gratitude in your shadows. Because not everything is all good or all bad. I mentioned this on the episode on moderation. We have to find the balance. Those shadows might also be providing some positive benefit to you. So let's be honest about those. And maybe if this applies to you, we also try to forgive our shadows. We go to self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself for having deviant thoughts that you think other people would shame you for. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about them. The part of our authenticity is that we are so complicated, because humans are so complicated, that we can't really understand ourselves all the time. Sometimes thoughts bubble up, and I want you to really consider these as just literal bubbles being formed from the ether. Those are your thoughts. They're not something that your mind is like intensely writing down all the time. Sometimes they're daydreams. Sometimes they're actual dreams. Sometimes it's the musings of a bored mind. But that doesn't mean that you are a bad person. And that does not mean that you don't deserve love. And that doesn't mean that you're any less human than you are. So maybe with the help of a therapist or with loved ones, maybe with the help of journaling, let's say, I forgive myself. I forgive these shadows. I forgive myself for shaming them. I forgive myself for having these shadows in the first place. I forgive myself for not being perfect. And you know what? We don't need to be perfect, because when we find our authentic chaos and when we fully move to the last step, self-embrace, and we fully embrace our authentic chaos, we find a beauty in it, because we have now found our inner voice. We have found ourselves. We have found our foundation. We have found the love of that parent, that security, the love of the partner, that support, the love of a child, that fulfillment. We've found all of these loves within ourselves. We find the source. The source is us. And if we could love someone as complicated, as beautiful and ugly and brilliant and stupid as us, we can love anyone. That opens up a huge capacity for love toward everyone in your life and anyone who hasn't even entered your life yet. You will put out an aura, a vibe of authenticity that other people will see. It's experienced like a warm glow, like the warm glow of the sun. just as you bask in it. And it feels like an energetic flow that just nourishes the people around you. When we embrace ourselves, we find the capacity to truly love ourselves. And that love flows, and it's a beautiful thing. We should want our society and our culture and our world to be a more loving place. And to do that, one of the most important steps, the most important step, is to love ourselves. Because if we don't love ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to love us? And how can we expect to ever love anyone else? Because if we don't love ourselves, we're saying we can't love an authentic person. And that's just a tragedy. It creates a sad and lonely world, a world where we become too afraid to even be our authentic selves, to express our deviant thoughts. We hide them in shame. And it doesn't create love. It creates a world of hurt and a world of sorrow and loneliness. And we humans aren't meant for that. We aren't meant to be lonely. We aren't meant to be so shamed. We're meant to embrace this love. That is what your consciousness is trying to tell you. That is what your authentic self is trying to tell you. So if you have a loving relationship already, or if you're trying to date, I think you should reflect on where you are in your journey of self-love. Maybe you truly love yourself, and to you I say fantastic. But let's keep going. Let's keep building on that. And if you haven't started, and if you haven't even considered your self-love, then please reflect on what I've said. Please take some of these steps I've talked about and start with the journey of self-awareness. It is one of the most valuable journeys you can make. The journey inward to understanding yourself, to understanding your authentic chaos, is one of the most important journeys we make in life. It is one of the most important things we can do for ourselves and our communities to create a more holistic and happy world and a loving world. It's key to your foundation. It is key to your love. It is key to living a life of balance. So I hope that in this month of February, and in every single day of this year, you will make some time for your self-love and for loving yourself. It's worth it. It really, truly is. Your partners deserve a partner that loves themselves. Your parents deserve a child who loves themselves. Your children deserve a parent who loves themselves. Your community, your friends, they all want to love you for you. So give them you by giving yourself your own love. That's all I have for today. As always, embrace your chaos with kindness. Thank you.